I started cleaning this area as an extension of the project to clean up the garden bed below. Clearing up this New Zealand flax right outside my office seemed like a reasonable next step.
Well, that's very unhelpful.
Fortunately, I had 2 new bags to go on with and 1 old one I could continue to use. As I discovered, the hoe is exactly the right tool for getting in under the agapanthus. As I continued to clear up the New Zealand flax, a retaining wall revealed itself. Now it's revealed, I think the area outlined in the modern cement blocks is a much later addition and will probably have to go. Each day I allocate an hour or so to the yard project. Today I continued trimming the New Zealand flax.
Raining, so I'm going to have to give it up at the moment.
With the rain stopped, the next day clean-up of the flax continued. Progress, but still far from clean. I decided after I did some work yesterday that in fact this entire New Zealand flax has to go. It's blocking the view up the hillside and it's not native, so it doesn't really matter. With the decision made to remove it completely, it didn't take much longer to cut it down to its roots.
There are still some roots to get rid of, but it's really opened up that slope.
A sunny day, and it was time to stack up all that I cut down, ready to be dealt with in the future. Most likely by paying someone else to take it away. If only it was this fast in real life. The loose leaves had to be bagged, and we take those to the waste transfer station. Clearing the flax showed how overgrown the staircase had become, so it was time to devote a little energy to finding the steps again. This Italian arum is an annoying weed that has been progressively colonising the yard and blocking the stairs. It's a pain, because it grows from a corn that has to be removed, or it just regrows year after year. On to the task of removing the roots of the New Zealand flax. They're dense and hard to remove. All it takes is a lot of persistence. Well, it took the best part of an hour, but the roots are gone. Day 7 on this job, and it's down on my knees for the boring task of weeding, especially getting those Italian arum corns out. If only I could condense the work that fast.
Got another fork. Hopefully this one will be a little bit more robust, but I don't expect so.
Day 8, and another day of weeding and trimming. There's also a bit of this canna lily to get rid of. Not so bad here, but in other parts of the yard there are big infestations. Day 9 and another go at the Italian arum intruding on the stairway. This is what happens when the retaining wall collapses and the arum breaks free. Another wall to repair down the track a bit. Hey look, there are stairs here. Day 10 and it's back to the tediousness of weeding. And why should day 11 be any different? More weeding. Progress is being made. The steps are clear of the Italian arum, the New Zealand flax and roots are gone, and the area is getting weeded. Mostly more Italian arum. However, there's still some work over this way. Trimming, weeding, and digging up stones from collapsed walls makes for a fairly dull day 12. Day 13 and I risk my skin close under the aloe vera before digging up more agapanthus. Frankly, I got bored with weeding and agapanthus removal, so I decided it was time to trim another tree so that the gardens on this hillside can get more light in the future. The next day, I was on a roll with the chainsaw, tidying up a couple more of the dormant trees on the hillside before they came back to life in the spring. This tree used to be completely engulfed in English ivy, until I found and cut all the roots. The ivy died off, and someday I'll rip off the remaining dead ivy vines. Hey look, it's the flash cleaning up my mess. That part of green waste out of sight down the hill is getting bigger. Day 15, and it's all about digging out the agapanthus. Other than this rotted out tree trunk that the wall was built around back in the 1960s. I was planning to dig out agapanthus, but ended up digging out, or at least uncovering, rocks from the collapsed walls. Some I'll have to come back to, as they're buried surprisingly deep. I also took out a lot of agapanthus. I continued trimming up this huge cluster of agapanthus so that it was contained and defined. One of the few that will remain the aloe vera needed some trimming, so that was next. And finally, this grassy plant deserved to be cleaned up to show it off at its best. That about wraps it up for this project. What started out as being an extension of cleaning up from down there has ended up being a fairly major cleanup of a good portion of the hillside. Originally I was only going to clean up around this new kiwi flax that was in New Zealand flax that was here, but I decided to take it out completely to clean up the undergrowth, clear off these steps so that they are more accessible, weed through here, take out an enormous amount of agapanthus through here, and to give this agapanthus a major trimming back. This is the only one I'm going to leave in the front yard, perhaps one right down the front, and
pruned the agave here. It's now ready for the next project, which is to straighten and rebuild many of the retaining walls that have already collapsed.